right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our Google for Education webinar on Google Docs. I'm glad that you're able to join us. We still have one other person that was registered, and hopefully we will be seeing them as well, but it is 3:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. Our objective today is to give you an overview of Google Docs and explore all the various features that are in there, including organization, sharing, document creation, and collaborating. So this is a follow-up to a Drive and Docs webinar that we had earlier on, and then we had a Google Drive webinar where we got more in-depth on things, and now is our chance to get more in-depth on Google Docs. I want to introduce you to our host today. First off, my name is Chris Malanga. I'm an Educational Integration Specialist here at NWACA. I've been here since July, and joining me on this webinar is Christy Hughes, who is an Educational Technologist here at NWACA, and we're going to kind of walk you through and give you the ability to see some of the sharing stuff in real time. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. First, please mute yourself, but don't hesitate to unmute to ask questions. So we encourage questions. You can simply unmute yourself and just ask out, or you can use the chat box on the side to enter your questions as well. I'm going to send a quick message here on the chat box so that it pops up for everybody. You can chat to everyone, or you can chat privately to me or to Christy, who is listed as chat host, and she'll help you out as well. If you would like to follow along in your own Google account, please open another tab in your browser so you can see and hear us, but also work in your account. So that's kind of our housekeeping. I want to point out a couple of items before we get started. First, our training website at training.nwaca.org. We've got a lot of great stuff on there, but the one page I really like is the class materials page. And when you click on that, you'll get a list of the G Suite product line. And if you click on any of the icons, you'll see a checklist. And that checklist is a series of tasks that you should be able to do in that app. Each of the tasks is linked to a video clip that shows you how to perform that task. So it's a great way of coming something if you forget how to do. Go to the training website, open up that check. You can watch the little video clips for a little screencast on how to do it. One other way to get some more tech information is to join our weekly Tech Tuesday tips list. And it's just one email a week to kind of share some of the technology with you. Also, we are having an event on March 7th in Perrysburg. It is our NWACA Roadshow. It is an online, it is an event at the Perrysburg board office. You can sign up right there and get more information. And it's kind of a pick your own PD day. There are some resources for this session. You won't need this right now. Later on at the end, I will give you a copy of this presentation, and you'll be able to open this up. But there is the Google Docs checklist with the tutorials, and there is kind of a homemade Drive and Docs manual that we have as well. So let's get started on Google Docs. Before we go into the product itself, I'm going to kind of talk with you about some of the things that you are able to do with the Google Docs product, and then we'll kind of get in and show you some examples. So why do you want to use Google Docs? Well, first, it's a great word processor. It saves on my favorite feature, how many times you've closed out forgetting to save it. Well, you don't have to worry about that with Google Docs. It automatically saves every time you type. It also allows for great sharing and collaborating. So what you get with Google Docs is the ability to share a copy of the document, be able to collaborate on it, without having to send email attachments back and forth. So I think this is where people started to lose me. We were talking about some of the different things that we could use Google Docs for. The one is the shared lesson repository. So you could store your lesson plans in Docs, and then everybody could see them. And you can also create a folder in your grade level to share resources. I talked a little bit about the reading response journals. This is one of my favorite ones because I used to have to carry these composition notebooks home all the time and grade the response journals. And now with Google Docs, I can just keep the journals in a shared Google Doc, and then we can have ongoing feedback as the student writes right in Google Docs without having to do any extra work to take those books home. We have the built-in Google Translate as well. And this is great for parents and guardians where English isn't their first language. You can take letters or permission slips or events and translate them right within your document, send a copy of that document to them, and they will get to see what it is you're trying to get across to them, and then they could write back to you and you could translate it back into English later on. So it's a great way to send documents to those bilingual parents. We also have the Explore tool. This used to be called the Research tool, and they changed it to the Explore tool. And the nice part about it is you can be typing within a document, and you can go ahead and see just different things that are related to the topic you're doing. So, for example, if I was doing cell biology, I could, do a search on mitosis and meiosis and get all sorts of images and related research and things like that. And to do that, you get to the Tools menu and click Explore. I also like the ability to write collaboratively. So a lot of times we have teachers that use the Google Docs for the writing process where they can go ahead in and the students can write and they can collaborate with each other and be given feedback from their peers. The nice part about it is you can also use the revision history to make sure your students are accountable. You can see when they wrote on the document, if they've made any changes and things like that. We can also use Google Docs for like staff and grade level meeting notes that were going to be shared. Instead of sending an attachment out later on, why don't you have all the staff members take notes on the same Google document? You'll be able to capture a lot more. So let's take a look at Google Docs here in this live showcase. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to stop me and ask them. You can unmute yourself or ask a question in the chat box. And if you want to follow along, don't forget to make a new tab in your browser. So let's go ahead and get into that. And now you should be able to see my Google Chrome. And here's the document. So across the top, you would see the normal toolbar that you're used to if you're coming from another word processing product. They basically are the same kind of menus. But one thing you'll notice under the File menu is you don't see a Save menu. And that's because Google Documents saves it automatically for you as you type. So there's no really need for a Save menu. All the other menu items mirror what you'd see in a normal product like Microsoft Word. And again, Google Docs is our equivalent to Microsoft Word on the Google side. So you can see all of your different menus have the various options in there. And then across the toolbar here, you have all the little icons that you're used to seeing. The nice part about this is you mouse over them, you'll get a little pop-up that explains what each icon does. And it also allows you to see if there's a keyboard shortcut for it. So for example, bold is Command B on the Mac, and so if you mouse over bold, you'll see that. You can also click on each little icon. If your window is super small, and I'll go ahead and make mine super small so you can see this, but if your window is super small, everything else will kind of compress under this More menu. So if you're looking for something here that you might not be able to see, you can use that More menu to go ahead and find the rest of your items underneath there. So for example, now it's compressed up. And I can move it out and then it comes back out again. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the features of Google Docs, particularly in the area of sharing. So the first thing I always tell students to do is make a name for your document. So if I call this one Shared Doc, I can just start typing on here as I normally would. Up in the left or the right-hand corner, you'll see this blue icon that's a lock that has the word Share on it. And what that basically is, if you see that lock, that means that document is private only to you. And that's also the button you use to be able to share your document. You can share it by sending an email to the person you want to share it to, so you can share it by email address or by name, but you can also share it with a link so that you can send your document out to people that you want to share with that maybe don't have email in your domain. I'm going to go ahead and share a document. I've got this summer vacation story here right now. And as you can see, again, this is a document that is private only to me. If I want to go ahead and share this document, I can click on the share, and then I can put people's email addresses in here. And I've got Christy over there who is working as Wilma Flintstone. So I'm going to go ahead and share this document with her. Now, when you go to share a document, there are three kind of levels of link sharing that you have when you send by email. The first is can edit, the second is can comment, and the third is can view. I want to briefly talk about the three levels there that you see. The first one and the most restrictive is can view. So if you use the can view, the person will only be able to view your document and they won't be able to make any changes. So this is good for something you want to send out but you don't want people to change. The second option is can comment. And when people comment on a document, they can leave little notes on the side of the document that you can then use to help you out as you're editing the document. The third one is can edit, and that's the most free. So if you let someone have edit permissions, they'll be able to change your document, they'll be able to delete text. Basically anything you can do, they can do. Don't worry though, you can use that revision history to go in and get your document back should they delete something that you don't want deleted. To start out and share here, I'm going to let Christy just have comment rights on this. So I'm going to send this out to her, and then she should get an email from me, and that should be the ability to comment. Now you'll see my icon up here changed from a lock to a person. And if I mouse over, it says it's shared with one person. Now hopefully Christy will get that document. Yep, she came in, and you can see that she came in by this W at the top. That's her. And now, if she were to make a comment, all she's going to do is she's either going to highlight some text or she's going to use this comment up here, and she can make a comment on the side of my document. So there's two ways really to make a comment. The first is to highlight something, and you notice there she highlighted, and she also left me a comment that says, great paragraph. Hunter did a good job writing this. When I click on this, I can reply to her. And now I've replied to her, and you can see that we have this little conversation train going on here. And she could reply back to me, and we could go on and on and on. Or she could make comments elsewhere on the document. If I want to be done with this comment after we've done this, we can hit the resolve button, and now this discussion will get hidden until later. I can always get back by coming to this the comment thread right here, and I could see the comments that were out there. So that's what the comment feature does. So this would be useful for students to comment on each other's work. I worked with a teacher previously that did his entire class on Google Docs, and the students had to comment on 3 other students' writing during the class every day. And so it got students looking at the different documents and the different writing styles of the kids, and that was really helpful to them to learn how to write. I'm going to go ahead and change my sharing here. So I've got it shared with Wilma. I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to give Wilma edit rights. And now when I save the changes, now Wilma should be able to make changes to this document. So I'm going to let her go on and try to make some formatting changes to this document to show you what happens. So Wilma's back in. And now she's adding to the document, my second favorite part of this trip. So you can see that now she's adding stuff to the document. And as she's typing, you can see she's that little pink icon there, and she can type, and I can see her name as she's typing, which is really helpful as you're editing a document together. Okay, so that's the difference between edit and comment. If I wanted her just to be able to view the document, I can just go ahead and select view. So now I'd like all of you to give this a try. So I want you to open up a window, and I'm going to share a Google document with you. This is called My Favorite Vacation. And what we're going to do is I'm going to share all of this with you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to email each of you this document. I'm going to give you edit rights to it. And I'm going to send it right now. And now you should get an email with a link to the document. And what you can do to show you that we can all be typing on this at the same time is when you get that link, go ahead and open up the document, find your name in the box, and go ahead and start typing a brief sentence or two about your most favorite vacation ever. So this will just show you the power of being able to all work together and share Google Doc. So I'll see if everybody gets in. I'm going to also share it with Christy here. And now you can see I've got it shared with 4 people. And Christy's in now. I see Gail has jumped in. So as you can see, we can all be working on this document at the same time. And depending on your purpose for doing this, it could be either very useful or very confusing. One time we were training, we opened a document up like this to a bunch of 5th graders, and you should see them all changing and deleting each other's stuff. But this would be a good thing for like meeting notes or something like that where you're working together and playing around in the document. So that's kind of how the sharing works within the document. Again, we can share via email, and we have those 3 levels of sharing, which is view, comment, and edit. If I wanted to share this document outside of emailing people, I can go ahead and I can use the sharing button again, and I can use this Get Shareable Link. When I do the Get Shareable Link, I have some more options. Of course, I can share with the people as I did before, but I can also share via link. And I want to walk through the 5 different levels of link sharing here. So if I click on this here and I say More, now I've got 5 levels that I can share this document. The first one at the bottom, I'll start from the bottom and move up, is off. So off from sharing the link, sharing it only with the specific people I type in there. Second, anyone at my organization with a link. So right now this says anyone at Northwest Ohio Computer Association with a link. That means if you have the link and you're signed in to your NOACA account, you could share or access this document. The next one up is on for your organization. And this allows anyone at your organization to be able to find and access your document. So you might want to do this kind of sharing if it's something that you want your teachers to be able to find, but you don't specifically want to share it with a bunch of email addresses. Anyone with the link, this is how you would do something that you want to share with people outside your domain, but you don't want to be public on the web. So for example, all of our training materials we share for on anyone with the link, and that will allow anyone who has that link to be able to open it. The most free and open one is this top one here, and that's public on the web. And that means anyone on the internet can find and access the link, and they don't have to sign in. So that would be something that you specifically want to make public as well. You could set it to public on the web. So a lot of times we don't recommend people use that unless there's a real purpose for it, because it gives you the ability to search and access it. So when I'm done, I can hit save, and now I could copy this link. I could send it off, and now anyone at my organization with the link can view the document, and I don't have to sit in there and type 100 email addresses. So that is link sharing. At this point, I just want to stop and see if anybody has any questions about sharing on a Google Doc. Feel free to either unmute yourself, or you can just type in the chat box, either sending it to everyone or to Christy or myself, and you know, feel free to ask any questions you have at this point. Okay, I haven't seen anything yet, but we'll keep an eye on the chat box. Christy will let me know if anything pops into her. So back into Google Docs, I want to just show you a couple of different things. Of course, just like any type of Word document, we have all the same formatting options. So if I want to highlight something and I want to make it italic or bold or both, if I want to change the font, I can go ahead and do that and change the font size. So just like everything else. But there are a couple of things that are unique to Google Docs. The first is the ability to put links. So we can use Google Docs as a great link sharing tool. So for example, if I want to go ahead and make a link document for my students, I'm going to go ahead and change this font here. And I'm going to say link list. Let's reduce this font size just a little bit. And now if I want my students to read like some news every morning, so we want CNN student news. I can go ahead and type that. Say maybe I want them after that, I want them to start reading their textbook. And then maybe I also want them to go ahead and go over to Google News. So now, if I highlight this and I hit the link button, it's going to allow me to put a link in. Now, there's a couple of different things. If I have a link specifically I need, I can put it in there. I can also search for a link, or if I have a term here and I highlight it, it'll find a link for me. So here's the student news link. And let's do the Google News one. It automatically populates Google News. And say I know the textbook, mytextbook.com. Okay, so now if I send this out to the students, they can click right on each thing and they can go right to the link for whatever they're going to. So here's CNN student news, or I could use Google News. And now I can use that as a great link list for students. So that's one of the big features that is a little bit different in Google. The other thing that's different is the ability to customize your document with add-ons. And add-ons are these little kind of pieces of code that allow you to do things that you might not ordinarily be able to do. One of my favorite add-ons is called DocTools. And DocTools has a bunch of different tools built into it to help you fix the text. But here's one of my favorite ones. I'm going to highlight this and do an add-on for DocTools. And I'm going to sort this ascending. So watch what will happen. It'll go through. It's working. And now that list is in ascending format. So DocTools is a great little add-on. To get an add-on in your document, all you have to do is click the Get Add-ons list, search for whatever you want, and then you would hit that little plus sign to add it to your Google Docs. And I've got DocTools already in there. There's a couple of new things that just happened recently in Google. Previously, we had to fake a way through making columns. We had to find an interesting way to do columns. And I'm going to show you the change here. I'm going to do some fake text here. Use this all the time when I was a teacher. Let's do 10 paragraphs of lorem ipsum text. Copy and paste this here. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this more manageable. I'm going to paste that text in. Okay, so you see how it goes on to 2 pages. Maybe I want it to be 2 columns. All I have to do is highlight the text. And then I can go to my Format, Columns, and I can make it 2 columns. It's automatically there. I could do multiple columns. So if I want to do 3 columns, I could do that. And I could even go to more options and do many different columns. So I'm going to stick with this with 2 columns. So that was something that previously, until about 5-6 months ago, you had to do manually through tables. And so this is nice that that's now added to Google Docs. More and more as we get closer to, as the product kind of matures on and on, all the features that seemingly are in Microsoft Word seem to make it over to Google Docs. You've got all your standards, like your numbered list and your bulleted list. You've got all your standard text alignments. And then if you get to a point where you want to change the format of your document and you want to get rid of this format, so right now this is Arial 10.5 bold, I can come up here, I can hit this TX button, and it will clear all the formatting. That'll take out the page breaks and things like that. So that's kind of your formatting toolbar. You can also, if there's too much going on here and you want to just focus on your editing, you can hide the menus, which will take those out, and you can bring them back as well. There's also an extensive help built into Google Docs, so you can search and find right away what you're trying to do. So I talked about that the Explore toolbar, and so I want to get into that just a little bit. So I'm going to open up my summer vacation again, and I'm going to highlight this word Gainesville, Florida. And now I'm going to hit this Explore down here, and watch what happens. I come up and I get a whole bunch of things that fit with Gainesville, Florida. So here's the Pisaga National Forest. So I can click on this, and I can find images, I can find websites, I can find stuff in Drive that has that. I'll just use this image. I'll put that right in there, and you can see now I've got that image of the National Forest just right from my document without having to leave. It's pretty cool. If I did use a text-based thing, so let's highlight this again, and we'll explore. Here's website, and I can go right into that right from there. So it lets me explore into a different spot. I can also cite this as a footnote, and you can see right there, it automatically puts the footnote with the right citation right in there. So this is great for doing research papers as well. So that's kind of the use of the Explore tool. We also talked about the ability to do the translate. So I'm going to highlight this right here. I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to translate this document. And I want to translate this into Spanish. I'm going to head there, and now it'll make a copy of my document and translate it into Spanish. There you go. That's another great tool built into Google Docs. All right, at this point, does anybody have any questions about something I showed you? Feel free to unmute and ask directly, or you can type in the chat. And with that translate tool, you actually get a separate copy of the document. So if I close this one out, it comes back to my original one. I can also do the same thing with the Explore tool. I can close the Explore tool as well. If I want to insert various things, I can put an image in. You saw how I inserted an image with the Explore tool, but if I want to insert an image that's on my drive, I can just click and hit Insert Image. I can use something in my Google Drive. I can do something that's shared with me, or I can come up here to search, and I can add a search term. And now it'll find any image that is set to be labeled for commercial reuse. So these are images that are safe to use. I can click on it and select it, and now that image is now into my document. I can also add in different drawings and charts and tables as well. So it's really a great way to kind of get a document that looks nice and is very customizable.
Hey, Chris.
Yep.
Hey, Chris. Can you talk about how these documents save into Google Drive?
Sure. So as I said, Google Drive, the documents are automatically saved. And so if I go into my Google Drive, it's basically just saved right in here automatically. And this is descending last modified. But if I put my sheet here, I can see that if I sort by last modified going down, you can see that here's my summer vacation story right here. It automatically saves into Google Drive. If I want to move that document, there's a couple of different ways to do it. From Google Drive, I can do it, but I can also do it from inside Google Docs. So this is automatically saved, but if I click here, I can move that document somewhere else. So if I click that little folder, right now it says that the file is in one folder, it's just my drive. But if I want to move this document, I can go in to my drive, and maybe I want to make a folder called research papers. I can hit that little plus sign next to the folder. I can say research papers. Now I've made that folder, and now I can move here. And now my summer vacation story is moved from my drive to research papers. If I go back out into my drive, I should see research papers up here as the document I've created, or the folder I've created, and you can see that my summer vacation story is in there as well. You'll also notice that on my summer vacation story, there's a little star that's illuminated here. And as we talked about in Google Drive, the star is the way to kind of consolidate your documents, to find them easier. So inside Google Docs, there is this, or in Google Drive, there is this area called Starred. And when you click on the starred, anything that you've added a star to shows up in here. So what we can do is use that star to find documents quickly. So for example, on the shared doc, if I want to star it, I can hit the star. Next time I come out into Google Drive, you should see that document show up here under shared docs. So the star is just a great option to kind of find your documents very quickly. You know, if it's something important. So what I do when I star documents, I basically star things that I'm going to need in the next couple of days. So for example, I'm doing trainings here. I've got those documents starred. And then the Google Docs webinar that I'm doing, I've got that document starred as well. And so I can find them very easily inside my drive. Good question there. The tables are kind of a neat thing you could do as well. I'm going to go to the end of the document here, and I'm going to make a new table. I can just go ahead and insert a table. So maybe I want to do 4x3, and then I can go ahead and just start typing in the document. So day, starting, location, ending location, miles traveled. And, you know, I can go ahead and start typing Sunday. I started in Gainesville, Florida. I ended up in Orlando, Florida, and let's just say it's 75 miles. So you could make a little table within your document, and then you can highlight your document and go ahead and like bold the headers. I can go into each row and I can click whether I want the borders around it. So it's kind of a neat way to kind of organize your document. And you can see now I've got multiple things in this document. It's not just text. I've got pictures. I've got a table. So it really could be used as a multimedia kind of presentation. I'm just looking here. I don't like this picture here. It's kind of breaking the text up. So instead of breaking the text, let's wrap the text. And now I can wrap the text. And let's give it a little bit of a margin, and let's just put it up here. Oh, that went too far. Put it into the text here. And now it should be wrapping the text. It's being weird when I move it. There you go. There you go. I can see it wrapping now. So really a multimedia kind of experience as well. There are all sorts of tools. We can do check spelling. I spelled Gainesville wrong. So, yep, I did that. Let's change it to Gainesville. And now it's correct. I can look at a word count. So I can see right away how many words and characters I've used. And then you could also do voice typing. I'm not even going to try that right now because of the audio issues we had earlier. But in theory, you could open voice typing up and you could have it, you could speak right into your computer and it would translate your typing into voice. There are different ways to view this. You can view it in editing mode, or you could switch it to suggestion mode. So this is good if you're having someone edit your document. Well, I don't want to say favorite, my favorite part. I want to say the best part. So let's delete out my favorite, and I can say the best part of camping. So now these are suggestions, and I could come back through and I could take that suggestion, and now it's been taken. We can also view or read a final document. That's good if you don't want to accidentally edit something. You can just go into the viewer mode and view it. Primarily, we work in the editing mode. If, for example, I want to get rid of all the things I've done, I can go into the revision history. I get that from going to File, See Revision History. And now you can see when things were done in this document, and I can revert all the way back to the original document, and I could restore this revision. And now it's straight back to my regular document. If I want to change that, I can go back into my revision history, and I could bring back the one at 414 and restore that revision. So you don't have to worry about sharing a document with somebody, because as the owner, you can go ahead and you can always get the original document back by using the revision history. When you're done, you could print the document. You can save it as a PDF or print it to your local printer. You can also download the document on various formats. So the document can be downloaded as a Word document. So if you're working with somebody that doesn't use Google Drive or Google Docs, you can download this document as a Word document, and you could send it to them as an attachment. You can download it as a rich text, a PDF, a web page, or even an EPUB. So you can make even books that can work on iPads and different e-readers by making it into an EPUB. I can also publish the document to the web. So if I want to use this to make a basic web page, I can do that as well. And if I have some collaborators on here, I can email collaborators as well. So I've shared this document with a couple people. So I guess Wilma, I can make a comment and say, check out the latest revision, and I can send it. And now Wilma will get a copy of that revision. And I can also email it as an attachment. So instead of going into Gmail and then finding the document, I can just email it as an attachment right from Google Docs. As always, if you run into trouble, you can use the Help menu. And you can go into Docs Help. It'll open up a thing, and I can do that. Or we highly recommend this extension that you install into your Google Chrome browser called Training for Google Apps. And that document or that extension works all throughout the Google ecosystem. So if you're in Gmail, it'll help you with your Gmail questions. If you're in Sheets, it'll do the same thing. So right now I'm going to open this up just to show you. It'll try to figure out where I'm at, and then it'll try to give me some ideas for how to do things. So if I need an example on how to keyboard shortcuts, I can do that as well. Find that right in that Training for Google Apps. I can also look at these document details and see where it's saved at, when it was last modified, and what time it was created. So questions? In Drive, one of the, Docs works so well with Drive. Let's just talk about a couple of things in Drive. I did mention that starred folder. So whenever I go to the starred, any document that I star either in Google Drive or in the doc itself, so right here, this one is starred. It shows up in the starred area. Anytime a document is shared with you, it can be found in the Shared With Me folder. So if somebody shares a document with me, I can go ahead and see the Shared With Me, and this one is completely, every document that's ever been shared with this email address shows up here in the Shared With Me, and I can scroll all the way back down. If I want to be able to organize this folder, you can't organize the Shared With Me folder very well on its own. It's just kind of a list of documents. I can, of course, add it to my, my Drive. So if I want to take this document and add it to my Drive, I just open it up. Well, that one's already in my Drive, so let's find one that's not. I can add it to my Drive. and then it'll be in my drive then, and I can organize it and move it wherever I want. So if I hit organize, I can put this document wherever I want. Let's put it into research papers, move here. And so now that document's in there. Recent is a great one in Google Drive as well. So if you're looking for your documents, you can go ahead into your recent folder, and all the documents you worked on recently show up here as well. I do want to show you the ability to do templates in Docs. To get to templates, the easiest way to do that is to open a new tab on your browser, and you just go to docs.google.com, which is the Google Docs header. And then there's this great little template gallery that's in here. And so I can expand this out. You can have templates in your organization or just general templates. So as you can see, I've got some education ones. So I've got several essays, a couple reports, some book reports, some class notes, lesson plans. I've got samples of letters, resumes, and then just different work documents, so project proposals and brochures and newsletters. So if you're looking to get started on a document and not sure where to start, you can use one of these templates. For example, I'll use that class notes one, and then it pops into your Google Drive, and you can go ahead and start editing that. So a great way to access documents that, or to get some inspiration on how to use different documents, you can use that template folder right there by going to docs.google.com. You have to go there to start with that. And that works with all the different tools there is. By going to the different tools like sheets.google.com or forms.google.com, you would see all of those templates built in. Everything that I've showed you today in the Google Docs product, especially with the sharing and things, also works in all the other products. So if you're in Google Sheets, for example, you would share that document the same exact way. You'd come up here and you'd hit the share button and share it as well. So the nice part about the G Suite series of applications is that once you learn one, you kind of learn all the different ones, and it really helps you to figure out how things are going. As I mentioned early on, we do have a checklist in our training site, which is training.nowaka.org. If you go to class materials, it should pop up here. I can go to docs, and then I'll get this checklist of all these different things that I should be able to know how to do to be an effective user of Google Docs. And I can go on in there, and if I want to know, for example, how to do keyboard shortcuts, if I just click on this link right here, a little video will come up and show me how to enable keyboard shortcuts. I do have the ability to do a page setup in here. So some people have asked about like setting up margins and things like that. I can go in here and set up whether I want it to be portrait or landscape. I can change the paper size. If I want to change the margins, right now the margins are all set at 1 inch, but if I want to make them a ½ inch, I can go in and make those changes. I can even put a page color. So for example, if I want my document to have a background, I can do that. And that's all up in the page setup. Again, if I want to make the changes or see what changes have been made, I can go into the revision history, and I can go ahead in and see the specific revisions that happened as they happened. So for those of you that are using Docs within your class, there's a great add-on. Oh, it's actually a Google extension, so we'll have to go to the Chrome Web Store. There's one called DraftBack. I'm going to add this to my Chrome. And what DraftBack allows me to do is it allows me to go through and see how this document was created. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this browser window. And now I've got DraftBack. And what I can do is I can play back the document's history so I can watch it in real time. So check this out. So you can see me actually creating this document, how it worked. As you can see, are all typing in there. And this is a great way to see how your document was being done, was being drafted. It's great to catch cheaters. So you could watch a document and see if all of a sudden you're seeing the student type and all of a sudden a huge block of text pops in, then you'll be able to tell that they probably cut and paste that from somewhere. So at this point, are there any questions? We're almost out of time. Okay, I'm going to head back to this presentation. We are definitely here to help you. One of the great things about working at NWACA, and it's not been like this at other places I've worked, is we're always willing to help you out with an issue. We don't just train you and then leave and leave you to fend for yourself. Feel free to call or email us for help with any issues you might be having. I put my direct line up there as well as my email address. You can also consider getting a group of teachers together, and if you're a full member of NWACA, we can do some resource visits. You can also come to a free NWACA GEG event. Our next one is on March 7th in Perrysburg. You can come sign up for our Tuesday Tech Tips weekly email. And our training website has the information, including the tutorial videos. And every week we're doing another NWACA webinar. So we're having them every week for teachers. We're really excited about that. In fact, we had 2 of them this week. The next webinar is Tuesday afternoon. Christy, what's the topic you're working on Tuesday afternoon? I know she'll tell me.
We're doing add-ons for docs and forms.
So that kind of fits right in, right, with what we're doing. There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so we want to thank you for attending our webinar this afternoon. I want you to get involved with our Google Educators group. There's some information there at this link right here. You can sign up for our Tuesday Tech Tips right here. And if you want a copy of the presentation from today, you can go ahead and click here. We do have a brief evaluation. It'll get sent to you by the time you get to school tomorrow morning. If you fill it out, once you fill that out, you'll receive your CEU certificate right away via email. And we just thank you for joining us. And Christy and I will stick around. And if you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat box, or we can unmute and ask that as well. So thanks again for joining. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to unmute and ask, or just type it in the chat box, and we'd be glad to stick around for some questions.